The idea seems simple, almost dangerous to imagine, because it changes everything from the ground up. Bell Cranel, the boy who started out weak, insecure, and dependent on his own luck, training from a young age with Ottar, the strongest adventurer in Orario, Freya's absolute right-hand man. Just thinking about it makes you feel the weight of this possibility, because DanMachi has always made it clear that Bell's growth is not ordinary, but it has also never been easy. And when you put Ottar into this equation, the whole story starts to take on a much more brutal tone. Bell begins his journey as an inexperienced adventurer, with low stats and almost no refined technique. What sets him apart from the beginning is not strength, but potential, something that the skill system itself recognizes through Liaris Freeze, a unique ability that accelerates his growth absurdly when his feelings are put to the test. In the canon, Bell evolves by getting beaten, making mistakes, being saved, learning through pain. Bell grows up facing monsters beyond his level, barely surviving and being shaped by chaotic battles. Ottar, on the other hand, represents the opposite. He is absolute discipline, consolidated strength, perfect technique, and a training mentality that doesn't forgive weaknesses. If Bell had trained with Ottar, the first major change wouldn't just be in his stat numbers, but in how he understands combat. Ottar isn't known for teaching with words, but with pressure. He demands extreme physical, mental, and emotional resilience. In this scenario, Bell would have been exposed much earlier to an environment where failure means being crushed, not rescued. This would completely change his battle posture. The canonical Bell hesitates, gets emotional, reacts to danger. A Bell molded by Ottar would learn early on to control fear, to maintain composure even when being dominated, and to see each confrontation as a calculated exchange, not a desperate escape. This wouldn't erase Bell's natural talent. On the contrary, it would enhance it. Liaris Freeze responds to emotional intensity and the desire to grow, and training under someone like Ottar would constantly push Bell to his limits. The difference is that this growth would be accompanied by solid technique, combat reading, and refined body control. Bell would still have his kind and impulsive essence, but it would be supported by a much more stable foundation. Instead of winning fights through sheer bursts of growth, he would begin to dominate them consistently, something that only happens much later in the canon. Another important point is how this would affect how Orario views Bell. In the canon, he gradually attracts attention through unexpected feats and rumors. Training with Ottar, even discreetly, would place Bell under much closer scrutiny from an early age. Ottar isn't someone who trains just anyone. The mere fact that Bell survives this training would already raise suspicions about his potential. This would change the dynamic with other families, the perception of threat, and even how Bell would be tested by the world itself. He would cease to be just the lucky boy who grows up fast and would be seen as someone molded to become a pillar of strength. Even so, DanMachi was never just about brute strength. Bell grows because he chooses to protect, help, and move forward even when he shouldn't. Training with Ottar wouldn't erase that, but it would place a different weight on those choices. Bell would have enough strength to win sooner, but also greater responsibility. Each decision would have more visible consequences, because a stronger Bell changes the balance around him. The world would react more harshly, demanding more from him not only as an adventurer, but as a symbol. And it is precisely by imagining this contrast that this possibility is so captivating. A Bell who grows up too fast, trained by the strongest, but still carrying the heart of someone who started out fragile. If you enjoy this kind of reflection within what DanMachi has actually built, perhaps it's time to keep watching, leaving a like and subscribing, as someone who wants to explore how far this story could go without losing its essence. Ultimately, thinking about Bell training with Ottar isn't about turning DanMachi into something unrecognizable, but about understanding how much the chosen path shapes the hero. The canonical Bell grows by stumbling. Bell under Ottar would grow by being crushed until he learns to stand. Both have the same possible destiny, but they tread completely different paths, and that's what makes this question so powerful within the universe of the work.